Does this knife have performance issues? Let's check it out. So if you've been following me for a longer while, or you've had a look at my older videos, you might know that I'm a bit of a knife enthusiast. And of course, you all know I'm a paracord enthusiast. So when I saw that CRKT made a neck knife with this kind of weird floppy paracord handle, I knew I had to check it out at some point. And that point is now. This knife has been out for a little while, but what's the deal with this kind of oddball of a knife and its handle? I will get to that momentarily. But what are we looking at here? Well, this is the CRKT tailbone, designed by TJ Schwartz, and it's a neck knife. No, not a knife that you attack necks with. That would be mean and rude. A neck knife is a small knife that is light enough so that you can hang it around your neck via a paracord or chain lanyard. Now in terms of blade shape, it's a short drop point blade made of 8 CR13 MOV steel that has a dark stonewash finish. Budget steel for a budget blade. It's got a large ring, which is a finger hole for you to grip the knife, and jimping on the spine. And of course it comes with a thermoplastic sheath and a bit of paracord and a cord lock for you to carry the knife via neck carry. The sheath works just fine, but it doesn't seem to have that satisfying, reassuring click when the knife is fully resheathed. And as you can hear on my other fixed blades, they have that sort of positive click when you put the knife back in the sheath. That being said, the sheath on the tailbone does hold the knife securely. It also does come with a belt clip in case you want to belt carry, which would make sense as the handle is flexible. More on that later. If you're worried about choking hazard safety, I will address that at the end of the video with a little pro knot tying tip for you. So the knife came plenty sharp out of the box, and as you can see, can take care of cardboard, paracord, and packages with no problem. It can even do a decent job biting into a bit of wood, in case you're making a feather stick or something like that. And in terms of cutting performance as well, the blade is decently thin behind the edge, and that drop point blade allows for some belly when cutting on a flat surface, but also a decent tip for precision. It is a softer budget steel, of course, so it won't hold its edge for very long when you're cutting fibrous material like cardboard, but softer steel simply means it'll be easier to resharpen. And let's be honest, it's a small neck knife, so it'll be most likely taking care of light duty cutting tasks. So what you're probably wondering the most about is this weird flexible paracord handle and what the deal with it is. And I've teased you long enough. So as I've shown, this handle is flexible, and I honestly wondered how that would function on a neck knife, which is why I was so curious about this one. Well, the thing is, the handle is actually a piece of bike chain, which means that it's flexible in moving side to side, but moving vertically there is much less play. So what this means is that when you're gripping the knife in your hand, the handle kind of just melts into your grip. But when you go to cut something, the vertical rigidity of the bike chain is there just enough so that you can maintain that grip and vertical cutting power. So that, paired with the paracord wrap, finger hole, and jimping on the spine, the grip is surprisingly comfortable. All the corners and edges, except for the cutting edge that is, are nicely chamfered and rounded so that there are no hot spots when using this knife. And of course, I'm sure you want to see what's under the paracord. I got you guys. Of course, I'm going to have to undo and replace the paracord on this knife. I like orange, but let's change it up a little. I've got some really cool cord here from our store at paracordweavers.com, link in the description. And I think you could probably do the West County whipping on this, but I want to maintain that slim profile, so I'm just going to redo the cobra knots. The wrap starts with this small hole on the knife, and I actually was thinking of doing a 2-color pattern with the cobra knots, but that would mean you would have 2 fused pieces of cord, which would mean that if you did remove the cord from the handle for use, it wouldn't be as practical. So I'm just going to retie those cobra knots or Solomon knots going down the bike chain. Repeat that Solomon knot pattern going down the bike chain handle, and the knots do actually sit well in between the links of the chain, but at the same time, if you wanted to weave this a bit tighter, stack the Solomon knots closer to each other, I think that would be possible too. And once I get to the end here, I think I'm going to make it a little fancier and pass the running ends through the tail end of the chain. And they're just going to wrap around once, and then I'm going to tie the double snake knot. The reason I'm doing this is because it's easy to untie, and if I need to remove the paracord, I can do so easily. and the tail ends pass through the lanyard hole on the end of the handle. Notice the running ends are actually passing through opposite sides of the hole, and then they're going to wrap around that bottom post one more time as we have a bit of extra space. This also moves both strands to the middle of the knife handle. Then the double snake knot as mentioned, hold the running ends like so. The top cord makes a loop around the bottom. The bottom cord wraps up and over. Then the bottom cord wraps up and over the top and passes through the first loop. And we just double up the cords for the double snake knot. You can also tie a couple of single snake knots too if you wish. So our handle is rewrapped and redone. I'm also going to use a different color for the neck lanyard. Oh, and before I forget to mention, I did see one video of someone that removed the entire handle from the knife to make it an even smaller neck knife. So there's that option too. However, we're going to keep the paracord handle on because we are a paracord channel. And for some added visibility, I'm going to replace the stock black paracord neck lanyard with some nice bright orange. I'll have all the colors I used in the video linked in the description box below. Just pass the two running ends through, and also don't forget to replace the cord lock. And speaking of which, I did mention about the choking hazard when it comes to a paracord neck lanyard. You could use those paracord breakaway pop barrels, but I find that those sometimes come apart too easily, and when you go to pull the knife from the sheath, it could make the lanyard pop off, but at the same time you could always just use your thumb to push the sheath off. So what you can do is tie this breakaway knot if you're in an environment where this could be an issue. So it's super simple to tie the breakaway knot. We're going to form a bite with one end of the cord, then we're going to tie a double overhand knot around it so that both running ends are pointing in the same direction. This makes the breakaway knot nice and flush against your neck, and when you give it a good pull, it will eventually come apart before choking you to the shadow realm. So this is probably the best breakaway knot out there as it has the slimmest profile, but I can do a video about more breakaway knots if you want. As you can see, this breakaway knot works quite well. Just give it a good tug and it will undo. How tightly you cinch down the double overhand knot can also dictate the breakaway force, so you can customize it to a certain degree. And to answer the question I posed earlier, does this knife have performance issues? Absolutely not. The floppy handle doesn't make this a bad knife at all. In fact, I think it's quite an interesting and useful little knife you can add to your collection or start your collection with, especially if you're looking for a neck knife. Oh, and one last thing, here's the knife on my belt with the belt clip for those that are curious. And it does work. The flexible handle kind of bends around your belt, and you can always tuck the handle under one of your belt loops. Hope you enjoyed. Also, I chipped the sheath on my knife. That's what I get for trying to be accessorize me.